Cancer doesn't suddenly appear at stage 4. It can begin with a single abnormal cell that starts multiplying out of control. But what actually changes as cancer progresses? From a small, localized tumor to cancer spreading beyond its original location, the biology can become very different. And here's something important. Stage 4 does not automatically mean there are no treatment options. So what happens inside the body at each stage? Let's go inside the human body and follow the journey of cancer from the earliest changes to advanced disease. Inside your body, billions of cells are constantly working, dividing, repairing themselves, and eventually being removed when they are no longer needed. This process is normally tightly controlled. A healthy cell receives instructions telling it when to grow, when to divide, when to repair damage, and when to stop. Some damaged cells can even recognize that something is wrong and activate a process that causes the cell to die. These safeguards are extremely important because they prevent damaged cells from continuing to multiply. But sometimes changes occur in a cell's DNA. DNA contains the instructions that help cells function properly. When certain genetic changes affect the systems controlling cell growth and division, a cell may begin behaving differently from a healthy cell. Instead of responding normally to the body's signals, the abnormal cell may continue dividing. And that is where the story of some cancers begins. One abnormal cell becomes two, two become four, four become eight. And as these cells continue dividing, a population of abnormal cells begins to develop. This does not mean that every abnormal cell immediately becomes cancer. The development of cancer is usually a complex process involving multiple genetic and cellular changes. Different cancers also behave differently. Some grow slowly, others can grow more aggressively. Some form solid tumors, while others, such as many blood cancers, do not form a typical solid tumor. So when we talk about cancer stages, we have to remember something important. There is no single cancer progression that looks exactly the same in every person. Staging systems are designed around specific types of cancer. But for many solid cancers, staging helps doctors describe how extensive the disease is. Now imagine looking through a microscope at a small group of abnormal cells. At first, the surrounding tissue may still look relatively organized, but the abnormal cells continue multiplying. Eventually, they may form a mass known as a tumor. A tumor is simply a mass of abnormal tissue. Not every tumor is cancerous. Some tumors are benign, meaning they do not behave like cancer and do not spread to distant parts of the body. A malignant tumor, however, is cancerous. It can invade surrounding tissues and, depending on the cancer type, potentially spread to other parts of the body. This distinction is extremely important. Now let's move to what is often described as early-stage cancer. In many cancers, stage 1 generally represents a relatively limited cancer. The tumor may be small and confined to the place where it originally developed. But the exact definition of stage 1 depends on the type of cancer. Doctors don't simply look at the size of a tumor and assign the same stage to every cancer. They may consider factors such as tumor size, nearby lymph nodes, whether the cancer has invaded surrounding structures, and whether it has spread to distant parts of the body. Some cancers use the TNM system. The letter T describes features of the primary tumor. N describes involvement of nearby lymph nodes, and M describes whether there is distant metastasis. The specific rules for assigning a stage vary depending on the cancer. So think of stage 1 not as one universal. A cancer stage provides important information about the extent of disease, but it does not tell the complete story of an individual person. Doctors consider many other factors. They look at the exact cancer type. They may examine the cancer cells under a microscope. They can perform molecular and genetic testing in certain cancers. They consider where the cancer is located. They determine whether it has spread and where it has spread. They may consider previous treatments. They also consider a person's overall health and other medical circumstances. All of these factors can influence treatment decisions, and modern cancer treatment is not one single approach. Depending on the cancer, doctors may use surgery, radiation therapy, chemotherapy, targeted therapies, immunotherapy, hormone therapy, or combinations of different treatments. The appropriate treatment depends heavily on the individual cancer. Some treatments are designed to destroy rapidly dividing cells. Others target specific biological features of cancer cells. Some therapies work by helping the immune system recognize and attack cancer cells. And some treatments focus on blocking signals that cancer cells use to grow. The science is constantly developing. Researchers continue studying the genetic changes that drive different cancers. They investigate how cancer cells communicate with surrounding tissues. They study why some cancers respond strongly to a particular treatment while others do not. They investigate why cancer can sometimes return after treatment. And they continue searching for better ways to detect cancer earlier and treat it more effectively. This brings us back to the beginning. Cancer can start with changes inside a cell. That cell may lose some of the normal controls that regulate growth and division. More abnormal cells can develop. A tumor may form in some cancers. The cancer may remain localized. It may grow larger or involve nearby tissues. It may involve nearby lymph nodes. And in some cases, cancer cells can travel through the bloodstream or lymphatic system and establish tumors in distant parts of the body. But the journey is not identical for every cancer. Some cancers are discovered early, some grow slowly, some spread more quickly, some cancers respond very well to treatment, others can be much more difficult to control. That is why cancer cannot be understood simply by looking at a number from 1 to 4. The stage is important, but it is only part of a much bigger picture. And perhaps the most important lesson is this. Stage 4 describes the extent of spread in many cancer staging systems. It does not automatically tell you how long someone will live. It does not automatically tell you that treatment has stopped. And it does not describe every cancer in exactly the same way. Cancer is not one disease. It is a large group of diseases with different causes, behaviors, genetic characteristics, treatments, and outcomes. Understanding that difference helps us understand why doctors need detailed information before deciding how a particular cancer should be treated. So when you hear the words stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, or stage 4, remember what those numbers are trying to communicate. They are describing the extent of a cancer according to the staging system for that specific cancer. Stage 1 often represents relatively limited disease. Higher stages can represent increasing local or regional involvement. And for many solid cancers, stage 4 indicates distant spread. But the exact meaning depends on the cancer type. Inside the body, cancer is a complex biological process involving cells, genes, tissues, blood vessels, lymphatic pathways, the immune system, and the surrounding environment. And every case can be different. That is why early detection, appropriate medical evaluation, and evidence-based treatment are so important. If you or someone you know is concerned about cancer symptoms, a diagnosis, or a screening result, speak with a qualified healthcare professional rather than relying on an online video for personal medical decisions. The purpose of this video is to help you understand the science, not to diagnose or treat disease. And now you know the journey. From an abnormal cell, to uncontrolled growth, to a localized tumor in some cancers, to possible regional involvement, and in some cases, to distant metastasis. The deeper we look inside the human body, the more we realize just how complex cancer really is. If you learned something new like this video, subscribe to BodyverseTV and turn on notifications for more fascinating human anatomy, health, and science explained through cinematic 3D visualization. Follow BodyverseTV for more incredible human anatomy and body facts.